So in this strategy, we look at how we can use DALL-E image generation in infusing some digital literacy into the social sciences. So first, students are introduced to the notion of AI bias. Then they get to interact with DALL-E. They get to analyze some images that were created by DALL-E. And then finally, we're really applying the social science focus here, where students get to look at different patterns of stereotypes and bias that they see in DALL-E generated images. So the module opens with a warm-up activity in Nearpod and a short video about AI bias and the consequences it can have. Then we move in the second part right into using the tool. So I link them to DALL-E here, talk about image generation, and show them a little GIF here of basically how to use the tool, and just reminding them that it is AI, and like they learned in the last module, it could be biased. And then before we jump into the specific social science focus, I ask them here to create a fun image. So to go play with the tool sort of in a low stakes way, I've provided prompts here just in case they can't think of their own, and ask them to share them on a Padlet that the class can collaborate on. And again, this is just meant to be sort of a fun activity. And then leaning a little bit more into the social science focus, I've asked them to review the images that I created here based on different professions and looking at what DALL-E created based on the prompts that I gave it. And just noticing the people. What did you notice about the people that DALL-E created? Did any of the images surprise you? And sharing both their fun image and their reflections on the shared Padlet here. And then now leaning in the third part a little bit more deeply into that social science focus, I've asked them, okay, now that they've had a chance to play with DALL-E, what do they think DALL-E might create based on these prompts here? And then I've asked them to actually try those prompts and notice, are there missing representations? Did they see patterns? Was there bias or stereotypes reflected in the images? And asking them to try to adjust them, give it more detail, and see what DALL-E comes up with. And again, using Padlet here for them to share one of their images and then reflect on the patterns that they see there. And then they do a connection activity at the end. So I think there are a lot of benefits to this strategy. DALL-E is very accessible. Students are using ChatGPT. They're familiar with that environment. On top of that, it does promote some critical thinking for students to analyze these images, but also to create the images. They're fostering critical literacy skills by critiquing the image, but also the actual digital skills of using the tool and being familiar with prompt writing. It's also in the social sciences critical that students are able to sort of see potential bias. So I think it works well for that. And then they get to collaborate with their peers. So students get to share their images, share their reflections. This is especially helpful because DALL-E does have a limit on how many free images it will let you have in a day. So students get to do their own, but then they also get to see everyone else's and sort of benefit from that as well. So thank you very much for your attention. I think DALL-E does have a lot of potential for use in the social sciences and for fostering that critical digital literacy.